Hello friends and everyone, welcome back to Netcode-Hub channel. In this video, we are going to update our employee management system. There are a few issues that we need to address, and that is what we're going to have a look today. If you haven't watched any of the videos concerning building this e-commerce, employee management system, check the video description and I have the various links in there. You can also click to watch. Also, if you have any suggestions to that you want us to implement, maybe you can just put it at the comment section as well. And guess what? We can try to implement that maybe in the near future or maybe the next update that would come. But in this, let's try to have a look on how to solve these simple or small issues with the system. You see that if I click on the home, maybe if I click on department and I'm in here, if I click on the home, nothing happens. When I reload this application, the default one is I must see the home page, that is the employee management system or the employee table available. That is the default settings made in here. But as soon as I click on any of the tabs and I click on the home, nothing happens. We're going to solve that. So this is the default one. So if I click on this department, now it changed to department. If I click on home, instead of showing the department, you can see, instead of showing the employee list, it is not showing the employee list. So let's first handle this. Then we come to the next one to talk about that too. So I'm going to close this, and when you check, we can just navigate to that. There's a nav menu. That is where we have our home button in there, and that's our home button. So you can see we have this, and by default, it is making a reference to this home/this dashboard as a route. We're going to clear this off, and to do this, we want to actually add an event. That is going to be a click event. So if I click on this, we want to call the state container. That's what we have been using to handle this. Aside from this, since you've changed the href, we have to include the style to change the cursor into a pointer as soon as you hover the mouse on that specific icon. Now with this home, let's come to down here and try to define this method in here. So you can see when you check down here, all these are methods that are defined in the state container. And for the employee, we want to set this, we want to call this employee click event from the state container. So we can also do same in here. So instead of saying employee clicked, you're going to say home clicked. So if home is clicked, then do same as employee has been clicked. It's going to clear all, now set all the components off, and now set only the employee. Let's see, that's a simple thing that we need to do. Let's refresh this and I'll see the output. So the app is now loaded. Now let's see. So this is the default one. We want to have this home page, that's the employee list, as a home page displayed automatically. And as soon as I click on the home, I must have this page displayed. If I click on management and maybe click on general departments, after doing all this stuff in here, if I click on this home, say, I must have the employee. Yeah, so this is working. This is the home page, and you can see it is working. So we have the home employee list displayed as a default one. If you click on any of this here and I click on the home or this icon, you can see it's going to change to the home. And that's exactly what we are doing in here. That's fine. Now let's have a look at the next one. If I click on general department in here, let's see if I try to add a new department. So the general department, we have an IT, or let's edit this. There's an IT, so maybe we can talk about okay, so maybe we can talk about something like health. Now let's update this. So been updated. Now it is health now, not IT. If I click on department and I click on add new department, so from the general department, instead of having the health, let's you can see I still have the IT, right? Good. Let's close this. Let's delete everything from this. Completed. Let's go to general department and also let's delete this. Completed. Okay, so let's add a new one from here, and this is going to be something like customer service. This customer service. Now I have this saved. Okay, so this has saved twice. We work on that too, don't worry. Now we have customer service as a general department. Click on department in here, click on add department, click on this, and because we still have the IT here. Although IT is no more there, we've also added customer service, but because we are not seeing it in here. Let's also handle that. Aside from that, when you go to country, you have Ghana in here. I can just remove this And if this is deleted, if I click on cities and now click on add cities, you can see I still have Ghana here. It shouldn't be that, okay? So we have to also remove that as well. So how can we do it? We're going to have a look on that as well. So let's also delete this. So you saw department not found, and it means that it is not able to be deleted. But as soon as I refresh this, let's see what happens. If I refresh this, click on the city. Now let's wait to see. So let's click on the city and see. So you can see that the data, it is no more there. We have country, we have nothing in here. Now the city is nothing in here. You can see, so how do we call this? How do you update this automatically? As soon as I click on department and I am done with it, I want to create departments. As soon as I click on add department, I must see the pop-up for the currently added item from the general department, right? Let's have a look on how to handle this and the other ones as well. So in order to solve this, it is just a simple process that we have to go through. And that is it. If before I click on this, I have to call an API for this country. Let's say I'm going to add department. I will have to call this is not general department. Let's say I want to add this department. And at this department, I must select this general department. So before I click on this, I have to call the list of this general department so I can get it populated in here, right? So let's see how to do that. And we're going to do the same to the rest. From department, branch, country, city, and town, we're going to do the same so we can have the list populated before we open the dialog. So let's close this up, and now let's navigate to our pages in the client project. In that, we have a content pages and we have employee pages. Now we want to go in for department pages, and in that, let's go in for the department dialog, because before we click on this dialog, we have to populate the general department and I'll make it available in here. So let's navigate to where the dialog is going to pop up, and that is here. So maybe before it opens up, we can make a method to call this list in here. So maybe we can force load this department, and that's going to be the general department. So let's create a method known as await force load general department. Now with this, let's create just a simple method in here. We're going to call the service that has been created in there and to load this department. So we can put it down here. So it's an async task of force load general department. And you can see general department here is a list, as you can see, because we have the list populated in here. And at this list, we're going to assign it to the output of this get all from the API. So before this dialog will pop up, we're going to have access to this general department. Okay. Now this must be an async task, because in the sense you're going to have an await. We can make this as an async tag as well. So let's actually edit this, and now we have this set and done. Okay, this is all that we need to do to get the data populated. Let's try this and see if this works. They're going to make a duplication of this to the various components in there. So let's try to click on management and now general department. So in here, let's delete these ones from here. Then we're going to add a new one. So we have this, delete this one. You see, you have no more. So before I click on this department, click on add. And now if I click on this, you can see that here, select no records here, right? Meaning it is working. Let's go in there and add one in here. So we're going to add department, and there's going to be an IT. This is a general department. Click on save. It has been completed. Now we have an IT here. If I go to department and now click on add department, let's see whether you have it or not. Click on this and you can see we have it. So it automatically loads as soon as you click on the next point to retrieve the list for the other one. And that's exactly what we are seeing in here. So we're going to make a duplicate of this to the country, city, town, and also the branch as well. Let's do it. I believe you can do it yourself, isn't it? So pause the video and I'll try your hands on it, and now let's see. Okay, so I assume you are done, right? I'm going to minimize this and let's see what we're going to do next. So once we have this, I don't want to save this for now. Let's go to solution. And now since you're done for the department dialog, we're going to also do for the same branch dialog, right? So we have to call a method in here for the branch dialog. And we can also make a duplicate of that. And we have to specify in the API route, and that is all. So guess what? What is the name that you can give to this? I'm going to say the same force load department. And now with that, you know, I have to call the same method, but this time I need to specify the different URL to this, isn't it? Because here we're going for department. So department is equal to department service.getAll. We pass in the department base URL, and that is all. This must be an async task, as you know, since you're having this, you're calling an API. This must be a task, and it should be an async method. Whoa, so where is it? Where's the other one? Okay, so let me replace like this, and that is how we have it. It's going to work, trust me. Okay, it is the same as we done earlier on. Now let's have a look with the next one. So we are done with the department. Let's go to the country to also include the same thing in there. And I believe you guys can do it, right? So let's do it, or we do it together. Let's see. So we go to the solution, and in here we have branch done already, we have department done already. We can close this up. We go to the location. That's where we have the city, country, and etc. the town as well. Let's go to the city. It's not part. We go to the town or the country. The country is not part, rather city is part, right? So in here, before the page opens up, this must be an async task. Now let's call a method in here. So we can just go back to where we have this branch, and you know, we can just copy this method from here. Then we go to the city dialog, and I'm going to paste it here. But instead of load departments, it's going to be load cities. Then let's have a method defined for this. We can just make a copy of this. You know, this is very simple. Copy, then we can load this here. Remember that this is city, so we need to load countries, not cities. You can load itself again. We have to load countries. You see? So load countries. And now here, there's going to be countries, because we have a country listed in here as a container. And now here, instead of having this department, this is going to be country service. Then get all. So here is going to be country base URL. Then we are off. That is all. A very simple one. You see? That's all that we need to do. Let's have a look. The next one. And we have city. So let's go to the town. So go to the town dialog. And now here too, we need to do same to populate the city. And now return it before we can add town. So here we say first load cities, and now we need to call the method to get all cities as well, and that is exactly what we're doing in here. To record city service .city base URL. Now this is going to work, trust me. Let's make this an async task. So edit code. This is an async task. So I believe you are done, isn't it? Let's run this and see. So refresh this up. Okay, so run it again. Alright, so it's ready. Now let's see. So for management, departments are working already. We can add a new one from department. Let's say this is health. Add one to this. Maybe it is security. So if I click on save, okay, so I have with security being added. That's fine. Now if I go to department and I click on add department, let's see. For this, let's have a name. Maybe developer or developers. Now if I click on it, you can see I have all the method that I added. That's the general department that I added. So it could be an IT. Now save it. So after saving this, I have this here. If I click on branch and I click on add, and now maybe this is going to be in a CRUD branch. If I click on this, you can see I have the department in here. I can also select this and now make a save. Yes. And now we have this. Okay. Let's also go to the next one. That's the country. And now from country, let's add one in here as Ghana. So this is added. Let's go to city. Click on this, add city. So now let's say this in Accra. Click on country because we have the Ghana in here. So you can see it automatically loads as soon as we start to add. Go to town. Maybe we're gonna have town in here. Let's say we have this city. You can see we have an Accra in here. Click on save. and has been saved, right? So here we have it. Yeah, so this is also working. Now the next one that I'm going to talk about here is if I click on country, or if I click on the general department, let's see, if I click on add country, then here I have Nigeria. If I hit on the enter key on the keyboard, this is going to add it twice. See, I have the first one, and maybe do you have? Okay, so let's try one more and see. Maybe I'm going to have. So I click on the keyboard and it has to be added twice. Let's say from general department, click on the next one. Maybe this is well, let's add NENC. Okay, yes, so you see this is what I'm talking about. As soon as I use the keyboard, hit on the enter key, the item gets added twice. But if I use the mouse and click on the save, it adds one. Why? Because the method that is going to be the save is clicked or is called twice. So let's try to handle that as well. So when you go to all the dialog components from this, let's see, from the department, you can see that we have this branch dialog, and that's where we are going to add. When you check, you can see we have on click. So it's going to call this method from the dialog buttons from the Syncfusion component. Also, we have this as submit. So the type is going to submit, then this is also going to call. So this submit, it gets added. That's what we're going to call, this will get added. Now you want our application to handle both on pressing on the enter keyboard and also clicking on the save button. So you want to set that button as a primary. So when you enter the key, you click on the enter key, it has to save. Okay. So in doing that, that's the reason why I added this. But this is going to make it call twice. So what we can do here is we can scrap off this dialog button and use this button here. So where we have this, you can see we have an edit form. This is the card body. And under the card body, we can have this card footer and then just create our own button in here to save. And at the type here, it is submit. So if you click on the enter keyboard, it's going to work. If you click on the save button with the mouse, it's still going to work. We're going to make a copy of this. Then let's save this. Let's go to the other ones and now replace all of them. So we go to this, we have branch dialog. We go to department dialog. Department dialog. And now in here, we are going to remove this as well. Then let's see where we have this card body, and then at the end we're going to have a card footer, and I replace it. Save that. Let's do same to the rest. So department dialog, and that is where we have our card body. So this is our card body. Okay, so here let's add this. That is all for this to handle the duplicate entry. Let's also do same to the location, and that is the country, city, and also the town. So for country dialog, we need to also do same. So before we have this card, and then we can just paste this here, and I remove this. I believe from the general department we did not remove this dialog button, so you better remove it before you have an error in there again. Okay, let's go to, we have country, let's go to city dialog. And in here we have to also remove only the dialog buttons. And at the end of the card body, we want to add card footer to this. Then let's check the next one. So this is going to be, there's the city. Let's go to the town dialog. Let's make this change as well. And in here, at the end where we have this card body, we are also going to have this one. That's fine. Yeah, so this is going to work as well. Now let's save this. Let's run this again. And now check this out. So the app is ready now. Let's go to the management and the join department. We're going to remove all, and I'll try to add new one and see. So let's remove this. Okay, that's fine. Last one. Yes. So click on department, and let's add an IT department. Now you see, I'm not clicking on the keyboard. No, I'm not clicking on the mouse. I'm using the mouse, right? Using the keyboard. See, I hope you heard the sound, right? Okay. So if I click on OK, see what happens. Now you see I have only one. Click on the same one. Let's add maybe health. Then I'm going to use the mouse tool. We have one as well. So you see this working. Security. Keyboard. Still one, isn't it? Let's go to countries and let's remove all these. Delete these, that's fine. Also this one, that's fine. Last one, correct. Okay, so add the next one here. I'm going to pass in USA. See, keyboard, that's fine. Added only once. Let's have another one. Which one? UK, simple one. That's fine. 2, right? Let's add Ghana. I'm going to use keyboard. No, I'm going to use mouse. You can see this is working, right? So this is also solved. You don't have any double entry made in here again. Now the next one is going to talk about here. It is this one. If I click on this, you know this logout is working by this profile. If I click on this, nothing happens. We must actually have a profile that we can update the image of the current user, isn't it? But see, click on this. Profile, nothing happens because we have not implemented that. So quickly, let's also do that as well. I'm going to close this. Then let's clear all that we have in here. This component, close all tabs. That's fine. Let's go to the solution, and where we have our pages in our content pages folder, we're going to create another folder in here. I mean, this is going to be a profile pages, right? So right click on the content pages. You know, with this one, let's add a new folder to this. But I know we have to close this first. If not, we can't rename the folder. So right click and going to add a new folder to this, isn't it? And now with this new folder, we can name it as profile pages. So that's what's going to contain our profile pages or our components related to profile, right? Good. For now, maybe you can decide to actually add more, but we're going to add only one page for now to this. And it's going to be a profile page. So right click on this. Let's add profile, result component. And this is going to be profile page.razor. So profile page. Let's have this component created. You know, why this is being created, you know, we have to have a state to handle this. Because when you check other components for the categories component that we have, like the department, we have the general department, also city and etc. We are navigating the hide and seek using the state container. So we have to also have same thing to handle this as well. So let's go to the application state folder, and now a state file known as the allstate.cs. Let's try to implement also an state to handle this profile page so that we can just hide and show. Okay, we can just hide and show, and as we'll be doing to the other ones as well in here. So down here we can just make a copy of this, you know, copy and paste is the best, so try to copy all the time. So copy and paste of this, then we're going to change show user profile, then we're going to set this to true whilst you call this method to reset everything. Maybe you can decide to change the name here, because you know, instead of saying a reset all, maybe you made it reset department, meaning it is limited to all department, but it is not. It is for the entire states, right? So maybe you can rename this this name in here. Okay, but the method name doesn't matter. What matters is the actual function, the core function of it. So that's what we are doing. It is the same thing, and I believe you know this already, isn't it? So just make a copy, and now let's have it in here, as you can see with this. Once you're done with this, we need to also create a state container to also handle the user profile. The reason why we're doing that, you know, from the nav menu.razor, we have to show the profile image in there. And also, if I click on the profile, I must have a page that I can handle everything. So you must have a state where we can use to show the image on top of the nav bar, And also we can click on the same profile and now see the same image in there. There are so many ways of implementing this. I'm going to teach you the one way of doing that, okay? Maybe you can also find another way around to work with this. But let's see, we're also going to use a state container to also handle the same thing as I am talking about. So let's see how to work on that. Let's go in there to the state application state folder. Let's right click on this. Let's add a new class. And on this class, you're going to say it is user profile state. Okay. So once you have this created, we are going to create a state or a class to handle this. And then the class that we have in here is going to be user profile. Go to solution. Then right click on the DTO, because it's going to be a data transfer object. Now let's add to this as a class. And this is going to be user profile. So now in here, this must be a public, so we can have access to it globally. Also, let's clear all this. Now in here, let's have these properties, and these properties are the ones that you're going to be using to update our profile. We have the ID of the user, we have the name in here, we have the email address, and that is an image. Now with this image, you have the default image. So if the user creates an account for the first time, image is not added in the form selection. So when filling the form, the user cannot add image. The user can add image only when the account has been created and is now logged in and are using the app. That is where you can update the image in here. So we want to have a default image for this. There's the use case that I'm using. You can also find a different use case. You can enable profile image selection during account creation. You can also do that. But this is what we're doing for now to handle everything in here for the user image. Okay, so we have this as our profile, ID, name, email, and our image. Maybe who else? Maybe you can also add password reset and etc. They are all features that you can actually add. For now, let's stick to this to update the profile. Okay, we have this. Let's go to the state. So let's save this. So when you go to this state container, that is the user profile state container. In that, we need to have a method and also an action to be used. Let me edit this. Click on this. Now we have a method in here. This is user profile and this is a class that we created. We have a method in here which is invoking this state, right? This action. Why am I using this, or why am I bringing this here? The reason is, we have two components. You're going to communicate. We want to use a state to handle that. When you have the first one, maybe if I want to update the image in the profile component, as soon as I'm done updating, I want to show the image as soon as possible. Before I receive profile updated, I must see the image also changed. So that's the reason why we need to create this, so that we're going to subscribe to this action. So as soon as we call this, it means any page, any component which are subscribed to this has to re-render. And now when re-rendering, it's going to call an API to get a current image from the database. Does this make sense? Are you sure it makes sense? Okay, so let's try. Let me join the implementation. You guys are going to get it better than me saying it. All right. So we have this. Let's save this. Now in our profile page, .razor, let's have our simple design here. So here we can use the states container that we created, and that is the all state. So we are saying that if all state.show user profile is true, that is only where we want to display this. You can see here I have my div container, margin top as 5, and within this row I have this column MD3, MD6, MD3. So 3, 3, 6 plus making 12 for the whole row, and that is it. So this is going to be in the middle. Now in between the middle one, we have our edit form. Let me save this, close this, the profile page, and I'll open it again. So you can see from here we have an edit form, and now with this edit form we have this model. Now where is this model coming from? That is coming from the state model that we created, because you want to handle the values in there as a state. So the next page can also handle. And even when you have a third page that we want to also consume this, we can also retrieve the same thing when we set it through any of the components. When you click on submit and if it's validated, you want to call this method. Okay, and this is a normal useful stuff that we do know. We have an input file that's going to unchanged as an upload image, and in here when you check, you can see that we have this container in here which has the image in here. As you can see, this is an image, 100 pesos with the weight and also the height the same, but that reduces 50%, so you can have it in a circular form, and that is a source. So the state, and the state contains a model, that the model has a property known as what? Image. So you see this is the state itself. It contains a property, that's the model. This model contains a property. If I click on PIP definition, it contains a property known as image. So that's what we are making a reference to. I believe this is clear. Good. So when you go to this profile page, now we have ending here. Now we have also our form for this user profile ID, which is disabled. We have name and we have email. Okay. Now here, if I click on save, I want to have this button loading spinner. We created this earlier on, and here it's going to just return the spinner when the form is busy interacting with an API. The validation summary for the card footer, we display all the errors in here. That's what we are doing. So here, let's have the method to get these red lines off. So the first thing that we are doing here is very simple, and it's quite simple. Okay, let me just grab these and we can talk about the various methods in it. Okay, so why is it that I have these red lines here? Maybe you can have to close this up. Save this, close this again, and I'll open it. So profile page. Okay, do you have the same error again? Let's see. Yeah, you do have the same error. Let's see, because this state is coming from nowhere. Okay, so for me to explain this first, I have to include the state. The state that we created, we need to inject the state so that we can use this in there. So as you know, that is an import.razor, and that's where we add all our public states, or we inject all our public states. So we have a user profile state, and that is a user profile state instance that we created. Now when you go back to the user profile page, or the profile page, I think this issue must be solved. Okay, so this is solved. It's solved now. Now when you come to this section, this is what we are doing. We call, when the page loads initially for the first time, we're going to call this user details. And now you can see we are subscribing to this action from the state container, and also from this user profile action we also want to subscribe to this. So as soon as we can recall that, this page can also get re-rendered. So we subscribe in here. Now we have the spinner as show spinner, and that's what we're going to use, as you can see from this. So if they set it true, it means display the spinner, else then display the save button. Here we want to get this get authentication state async, so we can get the user details. Okay, maybe you can also move this to a separate class, then we can be using inject and use it here, but for now let's maintain this. So with this, we need to also inject this class that you created in the first or second video, so to enable us get the private HTTP client and also the public one. The private one adds the token to the header and it returns it. So you want to get this HTTP client, which is going to be the private one. As you can see, there's a private one. So we have to also inject this HTTP client in there. So let's go to the same import. Now down here, we can also inject this class in here. And now when we are done, we go back to the profile page, and now this must be solved. So we get the private client, and now in here, as you can see, we want to get the authentication state async. And in that, we have a user in it that we can extract all our claims. So when log into our account, these are the claims that we specified or we created. Name identifier, name, email, and now we have the user profile ID. Note we have all these three. We have another one that is the row, but we don't want to add row. Well, in case you want to add row, then it is possible, but we don't want to add row as currently. We want to maintain only this information. Now with this claim types must come from this namespace, so we have to include the namespace in here on top, and that is the using system. Let's put it here. So system.security.claims, that's what you need to use. And also, since we are having this disposable, having this action subscribed, you need to have this implement disposable. And also, when the page loads and the page is about to fade off, you can see we have the dispose, then we have to unsubscribe from the method, and that is all. Now when you check this, the next thing that we are doing here is we are going to extract all the claims. So we extract from this, we store it here into the properties in the state model. Aside from that, you want to call this an endpoint in here as a user image. We pass in only the profile ID, that is the user ID, and I'll extract the image. Image is what we need. So we check if the response status code is not accessed. We want to maintain only the default image which has been set or which has been added here from where creating the class. But in case it is not, then you want to extract it. And now when we check and it is null, meaning user hasn't updated the stat, then we want to return it and then keep the default one. But in case the user chose a new image, then you want to set it in here as a result. Okay, so this result is going to display it on the page and now inside this component as well. We use try and catch to handle it in case we have any feature errors to be shown. Now when I click on this update profile, and that is the event, check here. If I click on this edit form submit, I want to update the profile. Maybe I have changed this. I cannot change the ID. I can only change the email and maybe the name, and I can change the image. So if I click on that, this is what I want to do. But before I do this, I have to change the image first. As you can see, we have this input file, and now this is the file in here. We have upload image. So what are we doing? From this upload image, we are checking if the file contains PNG. Here we are making a restriction. We want to retrieve only PNG files, and that's what we are doing. We convert it into base default string, and now we assign it to this profile image. Okay, in case it doesn't contain this PNG, we want to display this to the user. Then after we have these models, we have an image also created. We check if the image profile image is not equal to this. Remember, this is the default one. So you want to see that whether the user selected an image or not. But as soon as you want to update the profile, it means you must have an image. We are making it a must for the user to update image. So in case it is not, you want to display this. But in case everything is working, show the spinner, and now get a private client. Now put means you want to update it. Call this endpoint as an update, then pass in the model. So by this time, this model might have gotten all the property that we stated: the ID, the name, the email, and also the image. Then we check if it is not accessed, return this. But in case it is, then read the content. And at this here, we're returning either true or false. If it is true, then the spinner is going to be off. Then alert this profile updated. So as soon as you do that, then it tells you that there's a new image added. Then we want to invoke this method. As soon as you invoke this action, any page which is going to subscribe to this is going to also get re-rendered and now display the current data or the current image in there. Then show spinner to off. That's really what we're doing. Very simple one to get the data. So here we update it and we retrieve it. Update all the data, and I retrieve only image because we have the rest data in here. Is the image that we only need. Okay, so we do that. Now this is going to work. So here we can try this. But before we try this, I want us to also handle this nav menu component as well. So go to the layout, not even the layout. Go to other pages, and the other page you can see we have this known as the profile drop down. And that is what we normally see beside. Okay, that's where we have the logout in that you can see from this. Now here, instead of having a state to call this, we rather want to call this from an API. So send the page loads, call this on an API. As soon as an image is updated, you want to subscribe to this an event whereby this page is going to get rendered, and now an current image updater is going to be also shown in here. How are you going about this? Do you have any idea? Let's see how to work on this. So all that you need to do here is to call this. Since you have the state container, remove everything from here and I replace it with this. So use that state container, a module known as profile, and a property known as image. Assign it in there. So you want to use the value of this image property. That is all. Now if I click on profile, what am I going to do? We want to have a method wired up to this. As soon as I click on profile, I want to do something. I want to show the profile component. So in here, let's add an onClick event, and as a user profile clicked. When you come down here, we want to handle this user profile click down here. Okay, so what can we do to get it set? We can just make a method in here, and I will say that if I click on this, then also all state.user profile clicked. As soon as you have this, you don't have profile clicked. Do you have currently? Yes, we created that from the all state. So we say we are calling this profile clicked. Now this is going to show the whole area off, the whole component off, and now set this only up. Okay, so all are going to be off, and this is going to be on, and that is all it's going to be shown on the screen. Okay, so we have this. Where is it? Profile drop down. We can now save this. But the question is, we have to also call an API. So how do you do that? You can create a simple method in here. And now since we are going to subscribe to this, we're going to render this, we need to add our disposable method to dispose it. And also as soon as we have it means you have to subscribe, because we can unsubscribe once you haven't subscribed. You cannot do that. So let's handle the subscription, and we do that from the page initialize. So when the page initializes, we want to subscribe to that. But we say there's a new method. You can clear this. There's a new method known as load image. So with the load image, let's see how to handle that. As soon as the page loads, we want to call an API to retrieve that image. So first of all, you can see here too, you're making duplicates. Do not repeat yourself, but here we are doing it. You can put this into a state, then you can actually inject it in here. Now we could see we are getting the state authentication state. Then we want to extract only the ID of this. Okay. So when you go to the profile, the namespace that we use, we can also copy the same namespace, go to the profile, and now on top here, we can add it here. That's the claims, because you want to get a claim. So here we want to retrieve only the name. That is the ID. Now, if I get the ID, get the private HTTP client, attach the header, then here, make a call to an endpoint, passing the ID, the response check. If it is not successful, then return. In case it is, then read as a string. And now, if it is not null, then assign the result as an image to this container. So as soon as you do this, this image is going to get the current image that the user just updated. So watch here, load image, we call it when the page initializes. And now we're also going to subscribe to this. So all that we do here is invoke this method from a setter page, and now here is a getter. So from the setter page, and that is the profile page. Here's the setter, and now this is going to be the getter. So as soon as we invoke this, this is going to run, and now when the page initializes, it's going to call this, and then this method is going to get the current data, assign it, and now display on top there. That's all that we are doing. Okay, very simple one as well. Okay, let's save this. Now, as you can see, we have been saying we get an API, but we have not created the API yet. Have you seen? So let's see how do you work on this by creating this API. You know, this API must come from this authentication controller, and then that repository is going to be the user account repository. That's why you need to create this endpoint in there. So let's see how to work on that as well. So let's go to the solution. Then let's go to the server library, that is the data access layer. The server library, you can see from our repository, we have our contracts, and in there we have an iUser account. We want to add 2 more methods or interfaces to this. That's a get user image. We need only the user ID, and also update profile. That's why coming with this profile, which has the ID, the name, the email, and so the image. Okay. So once you have this, let's go implement them in here from the repository. And that's the implementation to the user account. Where is it? User account repository. We have to implement them here. So down here, that's what we need to do our magic in here. Okay. So with this, if I click on, if I click on get user image, this is what I want to do. I want to just call an endpoint. Now this endpoint has been cached in here. You know, this application uses. So we need not to, it has been called already. So here, what we do here, we have a method to call it from the application user table. So get by ID. And now with this, you know, it's returning a string as a type, as an image. Then we call this method. And now we're going to make a search from this to see if the ID coming in is equal to this ID. When we have that, then retrieve the property of image. But we have not added that property to it. So when you go to solution, go to base library. Now not the DTO, go to entities. And I can see here we have this application user. Application user does not have any property known as image. Have you seen that? So maybe what can we do to give us access to an image? We have to then add a new property to this. And now this property is going to handle with the image. You know, after doing this, we have to perform migration to update the table. So we have this image property added. Now when they come here, this is going to be solved. Okay. Now the next one to talk about here is after retrieving the image and I return it in the form of string, that's going to be the base64. What is the next thing to do? The next thing that we can do here is we can actually also update the user details. That is when you want to update user profile. So to do that, when we call this endpoint, we have to search the application table to get the specific user by the ID. As soon as you get it, now since this is going to be a string, we are converting into an integer, then making it as an integer to just make a search. When you do that, you're going to just assign it, because this is going to handle with the tracking. So we're going to assign the email to email, full name to full name, and that image to image. We save changes and now return true. So here we are making an update. So as soon as you change your image, click on save. This is going to call it, and then we're going to have an update in here. That's fine. Now, as we have this, we have to create a controller to also handle this. And we're not going to create a new controller. Rather, we're going to use the old controller that you have been created. And in that, that's going to be an authentication controller. That is where we need to update this. So in that, we need to have a two endpoints to do that. The first one is get user image, and it is a get type. So go to solution, and let's see, from this service, not the server, you go to the controller and authentication controller. The first method that we need to, or the first endpoint, must be get user image by ID. You see? Then all of this we have to, one thing that we have to do here is we shouldn't be allow anonymous. Allow anonymous should be in here. You see, so this is going to be allow anonymous. So for the login to anonymous, refresh token to anonymous. But when it gets to get all users, it shouldn't be anonymous. This should be authorized. Okay. And also, as soon as you're authenticated, you can have access to this. And also for update, you must be an authenticated user. For get rules, you must also be an authenticated user. And for delete user, you must be an authenticated user. And even this, we have to apply rule, because for user delete, it is only the admin who can do that. Okay, so rows is equal to, this must be an admin who can perform this. All right, but for get rows, you can actually do that by authorize, because this is going to be called by the endpoint in our component. Now for this, from this user image, this also going to be an authorized. If you're authorized, you can have access to this. And also for update profile, this, you must be an authenticated user before you can update. And now with this, anybody who has logged into application can update the profile. It's not only for an admin, so let's only use the authorized attribute here. Then we have this. So you see, we get this update profile, we pass in the profile and return OK with the status code. Okay, fine. This is all that we need to do. We are going to update or run migration to update the database. Then we're going to run it, test it up, and see what we're going to have. So let's stop everything. I think I have one open in here, and that's going to be the API. So that is this one. Let me just close this. Let's build this project. Build solution. I know we have not registered the service that we created. Maybe you're asking yourself, why won't we register the service? We forgot. And I believe we've done that, right? So let's register this component in the client. So the states from the solution, and that is the client in here from the program.cs file, in here we have to register this user profile state. That's fine. So package manager the output, and let's wait for this to get built. Then we go in there and update the database. Alright, so succeeded. Let's set this to server, and now in here from the package manager console, let's choose this to data access as server library. Let's say add migration. I'm going to say update accounts table. So you can see that here it has been added. You can see we have a new RAS image added. Now let's update database. Yeah, so we see this also done. Now let's run this application. Let's first run the server. So from this, click on the server. Now let's run this up. So debug, start with that debugging. And before you run the client, I believe when you go to the home component, here we have to include the page in here. So it's going to be profile page. So let's remove all this. Control period. Let's include this. And we can move this from here. We go to the imports. And now we can paste this here. Okay. Let's change this to client. Save everything. And I run this. So the app is now ready. Now let's see if I click on this, because we have profile, click on this profile. And you see we have this profile nice here, and that's the default image that we have. Click on choose file. You're going to choose an image in here. And now this is an ID. I can change this. So this is the name user 12. You see? So with this, I can change this to any name at all. Let's say this is going to be Frederick. And this is an email. Right. So if I click on save, let's see, you can see add profile image. I need to choose a profile image here. So let's click on this. And I'm in this because I have these images. So maybe I need to choose a PNG image. So let me choose this one. This is a PNG file. So I have this chosen. Click on save. And now let's see. So you can see profile updated. Now what's going to happen here? Watch this one. Since I click on OK, you can see it has now changed. You have the image here. If I refresh this app, it's still going to call that profile, that API, and I'll get the current profile, and I see what's going to happen. I'm going to have it set here as well. So you can see, now you see it has now been updated. Click on this profile, and I'm in here. The same thing. I can now change. But you see from the name, we are still getting user 12, right? To get the current email and the current name, these are claims, so we have to log out and log in again so we can have this data updated, right? So let's log out from this, then we're going to log in again. So before we do that, let's quickly check our table. You see, we have this first one. The Netcode full name here is Netcode-Hub, and that's the name that has been updated to. With the Frederick one, that's the second one. And we have this updated. So when we run, we're going to see this Frederick with this user1@email.com. That is the name that we updated. And after that, we can also make an update to this. Let's check and see if we're going to see same. So we have this. Let's user add example. Let's log in and now check it out. Yeah, so we are in. Now let's click on this profile and now let's see. Yeah, you can see now we have Frederick in here. We have our user in here. So here we can change this to Netcode-Hub, and as soon as you do that, it's going to be updated. By saying these are claims, you cannot see it right now unless you log in, you log out, and then log in again. That's what we are doing. So we have it saved, and now your profile updated. Right. So here, if you want to see this, then you log out, then you log in again. You're going to see this Netcode-Hub. So let's log in. Okay, so let's see now from profile, and now we have Netcode-Hub. Yes. So maybe this is what we can do. Once we have it updated to get the current claims in the profile set, we have to log out programmatically. We don't want the user to log out again, so we want to log the user out. So once logging in again, we get a new claim which has the current or the updated info. Does it make sense? Yes, let's have a look on that. So we have to create a method to handle that. But when you check our one of the components that we created, we have a logout system in there. So let's go in there and quickly we try to grab that. So let's go to the profile drop down, which has this logout clicked. We can just quickly copy this. Then let's go to our profile page, and it's going to be a logout. But you can also create a class to handle that. But for now, since it's a simple one, let's paste it here. Let's make a duplicate. So this is going to be a private and logout clicked. So when we make a call from this update and everything is working, we want to log out the user. Save this, and that is all that we are doing. This must be an await. So the user is logged out and tries to log in again, we're going to have the data being retrieved and the current data as well. Okay, so we have this. Let's make sure our server is kicked and running. So we go to our server, right click on this, debug, then start with the debugging. And aside from that, we're going to run the client as well. And now let's reload the client. So the app is ready. Now let's go in there, and in here, profile, let's try to. So with this, I'm going to say Netcode-Hub updated. You see? Now once I have that, I can also update the email. Okay, so maybe for now, I can use 200 for the email, Netcode-Hub updated. And now for the image, I'm going to just maintain what I have in here, or I can decide to choose another image for this. Maybe I can choose this PNG. I can choose this image. If I click on save, let's see what happens. It's going to get to an API, product updated, and this is going to change. It's going to log the user out. So let's see, click on this, and I can see I am logged out. So now I'm not going to log in with the user again, but I'm going to log in with the current email that I updated to. You see, so let's wait for app to get the user login. And now this, I'm going to use the user 200 that I just updated to. Okay, then with this login, let's log in and see what we're going to have in now. So this is the current email that we have. You can see login successfully. Click on OK, and let's see. So save that. And I can see that from here we have the image that we selected. And if I click on this and I go to profile, check it out, because I have the email updated now. This is an email. So these are the few updates that I wanted to talk about. Now we've done, or we've solved this. Okay. So for now, this is where we're going to end. But in case you have any other option that you want us to, or any other feature that you want us to add to this, maybe you can put it at the comment section, and we schedule some time to have a video on that as well. Alright, so thank you so much for watching this video. Take care, and I'm going to catch you up in the next video.